Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of Young Professional African Edition with your host, Jonathan and
Shaneil Mudley, equipping you with all the right tools to jumpstart your career in an African context by sharing experiences
and spreading the gospel of information.
With original music brought to you by Africa's own Unil Badiachi. On today's show, we are joined by Kalé. Kalé was born and raised in the coastal capital city of Lomé in Togo. She holds master's degrees in economics and business management, as well as another master's in financial engineering and corporate banking, both from the University of Nancy in France. She is currently pursuing another master's degree in development finance at the Graduate School of Business at the University of Cape Town to become a certified development finance analyst. She has more than 10 years of experience in banking across Europe, West and East Africa. She started her career in Societe Generale, corporate and investment banking, as a junior fund manager. She later joined the Pan-African Bank of Africa, where she held the function of finance controller, senior credit analyst, and senior manager. She's a passionate Pan-Africanist, interested in education, innovation, and new technologies as drivers for development. She is currently part of the sister organization to the World Bank, the International Finance Corporation, which is an international finance institution that offers investment advisory and asset management services to encourage private sector development in less developed countries.
So, Kalé joins us today all the way from Washington, D.C., where she's currently based. Thank you so much for making the time today, given COVID, given time zones. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, really. It's a pleasure.
No, we really appreciate it, Kalé. And maybe before wasting any more time, let me just jump right into it. You've had a fairly long career in banking and capital markets on the African continent. What inspired you to pursue banking?
I must admit, actually, I find myself in banking because of my background, my educational background. In high school, we had a choice of three majors, which were economics, literary, and sciences. Economics was the most intuitive major for me. It was in between, and I just decided to pursue this route. And after that, then I pursued my studies in economics and business management. And by the time I was getting out of university, banking was very vibrant. It was the sector that was recruiting the most. And I found that if I pursued a career in that field, I would be able to use it anywhere, and not only where I was in Europe then, but also in Africa. So that's why actually I started, in banking.
Well, I find that very interesting, the part where you talk about you had three options. So I think that bodes in nicely to my next question, which will maybe help us understand that a little bit more. Where are you from and where did you grow up?
I am from the lovely city of Lomé in Togo. That's in West Africa. Yes, in West Africa. I actually didn't spend my first years there. My parents were based in Congo then, and so we moved back to my country, my home country, when I was 6. And then I left again to after high school. So I come from Togo.
Oh wow, that so Togo, in my understanding, is a French-speaking country, right?
Exactly.
Wow.
So pardon my English.
So that's beautiful. You can speak to the majority of the African continent because you're bilingual in English and French.
Exactly, and I'm happy about that.
Yeah, there was a time when I was trying to learn French, Kalé, but maybe I just didn't try hard enough. I think I should go back to that.
Yes, it's important to know at least 2 major languages nowadays.
Okay, so where did you study?
I studied in France. I did my university studies there. I started with a bachelor and then master's degree in economics and business management. Then I moved to do a master in corporate banking and financial engineering, still in France.
Oh, wow.
And a couple of years later, that's where we met. I decided to go back and started the MCOM Development Finance in South Africa.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. Maybe before we talk about the development finance masters, uh,
Mm.
how does a girl from Togo end up in France? Like, maybe how did that happen? And yeah, what was that experience like?
Um, Speaking French and being in a country where university studies were limited, the obvious option actually for me was to look for studies elsewhere. So that's when actually I found that I could do some studies in France. So I moved there, and it was it was actually interesting for me because I was eager then to travel and discover new worlds, and it went very well. I was happy to leave home to be by myself, and yeah, it was for me just an adventure. It was for me just an adventure. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I think there is value in like leaving one's country and immersing yourself in different societies.
exactly.
You
Yes.
probably learn so much there. Um, Yeah, that's very interesting. So maybe my next question, you studied in France, you did your degree there, you did your master's there. Um, then I know you spent a lot of time in Kenya. How did that transition come about?
Mhm.
How did you end up in Kenya from France?
Okay. So from I was when I came back to Africa after my studies, I started working for Bank of Africa group, which was based in Mali. So I spent 3 years there, but I quickly felt the need to have an international career, and I knew that to be able to have such career, I needed to be fluent in English, which I was not then. And
Oh, wow. I wouldn't have known.
yes, no, it's okay. I had a base. I had a good base already, but I really wanted actually to be very fluent and being able to navigate in the two words very easily. And that's how I requested a transfer to one of the English-speaking subsidiaries of Bank of Africa. And luckily enough, there was an opening in Kenya, and then I moved there.
Oh, wow. And you were in the capital city?
Yes, Nairobi. Nairobi.
And how was your experience there as a French-speaking foreign national in East Africa? What was that? What is that like?
um, Kenya for me was just a great experience. I really cherish that experience. It's funny because when you arrive there, you feel that Nairobi is just the perfect mix between the Africa way of life and the Western way of life, which both I like because of my background. And I was lucky enough to get in a team that was very welcoming. I got integrated very easily and quickly as well. Nairobi is a cosmopolitan city, everybody knows that, and it's easy to settle in. And for me, the transition was quite easy because of that. And again, I was adventurous as well. That helps when you're ready to discover new words, when you're ready actually to go out there and do new things, it makes things very easy.
I think maybe now could be a good time because we're talking about your professional experience, and I like how you said you requested a change to go to Kenya because of what you thought would be beneficial for your career. What role has mentorship played in your career? Did you have mentors during this time? What did that look like?
Yes, I had mentors, but it was not a formal relationship. I say that I will actually come back to this later. But initially, it was just, big brothers, like we call it them in Africa, big brothers in my environment, whether at work or family friends, whom I used to speak with and just interact about my future, my goals, my wishes, my plans, my life plans, and they will be very happy to share their experience with me and guide me. I remember one of them one day a long time ago told me that I needed to do the CFA. I didn't even know what the CFA was. Then those kind of advice, that's part of the reason as well I started the MCOM. um, so yes, I had the chance in my career to have people who were giving me advice and guiding me where I needed to go. But one thing I would like to say is that for the relationship to be meaningful, one needs to know what you want to do, where you want to see yourself in the future. The relationship can become very quickly useless if you don't know that. So I will encourage people just to make a self, research on, your strength, your weaknesses, and make the best out of the relationship of mentoring.
Hmm, hmm. No, like I really appreciate this advice because I think it also comes with your benefit of hindsight, looking back. But maybe just to prod a little bit deeper on Kalé back then, did you envision yourself? Because you talk about trying to know yourself more and having a vision. Did you envision yourself, working for the biggest development institution in the world? Could you see yourself uh, back then doing that?
Yes. When I actually, I by the time I was 10 years old in the banking sector, in commercial banking, I realized that I needed a new challenge and I needed something new. And I just, reflected on what I was really interested about and what what I knew was finance. And what I was interested about was development. So it was very easy to make the connection and realize that I would love to travel and to work for a development finance institution. Um, so that's how actually it came about, this decision actually to look for job opportunities in DFIs. I wanted really to make a difference. I wanted to make a difference as well for the continent, but also for all the third country world. And that's how actually I came to this realization that I wanted to work for a development finance institution.
Oh wow, that's beautiful, Kale. I think a lot of millennials can really resonate with, we just don't want to work just to work. We want to
No.
work with impact, right? We want to
Yes.
make a difference, and you're really privileged in the fact that you can combine the two. I speak to a lot of young people in corporate these days, and I don't think working for things like the World Bank or the IFC, it really is something that people think about that easy because like obviously corporate is the most obvious thing after university, but maybe just talking more about the work that you do there. Um, what type of work do you do? And maybe it can resonate with someone in just normal corporate finance who's trying to make an impact.
Um, Actually, the work that I do currently in IFC is about, workout solution for investments in distress. You need to know that this is something that I was already doing in BOA, Kenya. And so I had experience doing that. I was managing a team then that was called risk prevention, and so it was very easy for me to fit in the job position that was opening in IFC, because it was just exactly what I was doing. So what I do on a daily basis is just finding solutions for a company that is in distress, that has difficulties managing or repaying their debt, and trying to find a way out, like that is beneficial both for the company and for the institution. So this is what I do on a daily basis.
Okay, no, that's wonderful. Maybe for the student out there that's listening, what work does the IFC do? Like just at a high level, because I think I read the thing once and I was like, wow, like that's where everyone should be. Who's in finance at least. Um,
Yes, I would say, okay, IFC is the private sector oriented institution of the World Bank Group. And so they are focused on fostering private sector to resolve development issues in the world. The focus is really to make a real change in the world through the development of the private sector. So this is what IFC does. This is our core and main values. We support the private sector to be able to respond to the development challenges of this world.
No, and I think that's really amazing, because it focuses on, trying to improve just the normal vehicles of commerce, but
Yes.
like also trying to impact development. So I think the new African Development Bank CEO is also trying to make the AFDB do that, like encourage private sector participation and create
Yes.
markets, you know. And for me, that is what finance should be on the African continent, at least, not just finance, but really contextualized um, to the continent. So you work for an amazing organization, and you're doing
Thank
amazing
you.
things,
Yes, they are amazing, and I totally agree with you. And what I find on the continent, the African continent, is also that the banking sector can be sometimes shy to support small business owners and startups, and those are the things, some of the things that I would like to see changing.
Well, why do you think it's like that? Is it just the risk averse nature of banks?
Yes,
Uh,
it's the risk adverseness of the institution. For me, a lot of banking institutions on the continent have enough capital to support a little bit more risks. There's something also I realized, that we are regulated, at least the banking sector is regulated by, for example, the IFRS 9 framework, international frameworks, which sometimes I find a bit restrictive for the continent. I really feel that there is a regulation change, or maybe we need to sit and just reflect on the regulation that is needed for the financial institution on the continent to be able to support the efforts for developments on the continent. But that's just my opinion. Those are
no.
interesting. Those are interesting and very useful regulatory frameworks, but really are they adapted to what the financial sector needs on the continent? And I think we need a reflection on that.
Yeah, no, and I totally, like, I'm listening to you speak right now, and I'm like, yes, you're totally right. I think, I think there's onus. Well, I think the onus is actually more on the African banks to do more contextualized problem solving, maybe within those IFRS 9 frameworks or whatever, or whichever the case might be. But there
Yes.
is space for innovative financing solutions to match the
Yes.
context.
Exactly.
they're working in. Okay, so the next question is, how important have networks been in your career? Um,
It's funny because I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that too. You know, I'm naturally willing to meet new people. You heard me before. I can travel. I can go anywhere and meet new people. This is natural for me, right? But networking has to be intentional. This is sometimes what I myself struggle with, the intention. You're meeting somebody for a special intention. And for me, the solution was just to find a way to match this nature of me, being able to meet new people easily, and then the intentional, the intentional networking. And my solution was to be curious. The word for me is to be curious about anything and the people. Being curious actually led me to try to find people that are fitting in my future goals. Um, I was curious about some departments. I was curious about some industries, and by my curiosity led me actually to look for people who know about those things. And this is how actually now I network. Um, Networking is very key nowadays. I will really stress on that. In my institution, it's something that you hear on a daily basis: networking, 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 because we are all humans, and I think we like to work and interact with people we know. Somebody that you have at least said hello to initially, those kind of things. So
yeah,
networking is very important. Luckily enough, my institution has a very um, a fully fledged application about networking. You can easily go around the institution platform and meet people, learn about their background, and connect with them. And you will actually, it's very easy to engage somebody, and because people are very willing and available to share their experience, but you have to do it the right way. Like on the digital side, for example, LinkedIn is a great platform to network, but sometimes, and I find it unfortunate, people just send you connection request without even asking, or you know people you don't know, of course, without even sending an email, an introductory email, or they just send a connection request. And for me, this is not networking. I'm not looking forward to the 500 plus connection. For me, this is not, because I have nothing to sell. I have nothing actually to showcase. So the use of those platforms actually needs to be well taught by the people looking for networking. Then you have the people around you. It's funny enough, like just in your family, um, family, friends, and your friends, when you have a career, you just need to speak out about your project, your goals, your wishes in your life, what you think about doing. You just need to speak out. We have sometimes this shyness of, oh, I don't want to share about what I'm willing to do, those kind of things. No, actually, for you to get the results of the networking that you're doing, for you actually to be able to receive the advices that you need to share first your goals. You need to share first what is your vision for your life. And then people will say, oh, okay, oh, I know somebody who is working in that area, then he can assist you. And what is the best way, actually the better, I think it's a very good way actually to have somebody introducing you to the person of interest. It's easier that way. And it's sometimes good to have an intermediary that will actually prevent you to have like a very harsh and and straight rejection, which I also had sometimes. It's not like it's just people not responding, for example, or those kind of things. So being introduced by somebody else is also a very good thing. So networking is very important, but you have to, as an individual, share about what you're looking for in life as well.
Wow, like so many learning points there, Kalé, especially the LinkedIn example you used. It's really nice to hear someone on the other side of those of the inboxes.
Yeah.
Just write an email before, like with the connection.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that makes it's the small things like that
Mm-hmm.
I think we miss, and that could prove very important. So recruitment appears to be shifting away from where you go on the company website and there's a job opening and then you apply online, to more a referral or job or headhunting, where people actually has that been true for you, or which one has worked?
For me, it was straight a job application on the website of the company.
Oh wow.
And yes, I just applied on their website, and I was called a few weeks later. The thing is, I still feel that for this big institution, at least, it's the best entry point, like the job website. Um, Entering there is easy, I feel, through the job website. Now, within the institution, to be able to move around, this is where now you need to network and know, being referred to by anybody else, those kind of things. That's how I see it for now. My reality was definitely entering through the job website, and then now that you are within, then you can actually move around by networking.
Oh, wow. No, that's because a lot of the times when we have our episodes, we pose a lot of questions, like to try and like stimulate a thought. And I think you've answered one of those questions, because we were like, does application portals actually still work? And you know, you're here and you got your job through that, so it clearly does. So maybe just in last questions, and I think you've been talking about it all along, though. What are you passionate about?
What I'm passionate about is Africa, development issues, solutions. Actually, I don't like to speak about the issues, but more of the solution. I really want to have a career that will bring solution to the development challenges of the world, and that's my passion.
Okay. And what's your long-term plan, if you're willing to share?
My long-term plan, my dream will be to be influential in the education space in Africa and maybe elsewhere, but especially in Africa, because you know there is an American poet, Maya Angelou, who said that if you don't know where you've come from, you don't know where you're going. And for me, it resonates well. It resonates a lot with what I think I should be doing in the future, because I really think that we need to reform our education system on the continent. Just to reestablish the history and the core values of the continent. Um, I it breaks my heart every time I see desperate Africans moving out because they can't find a solution back home. Yes, there are economic issues that are related to those moves, but there are also mentalities and that that needs to change on the continent. And when I feel that we need to encourage Africans to recover their pride, their dignity, and because we used to be such a great civilization, and I really feel that this is going to be done through the education system. My goal in the future will be like a consultant. I hope I will not I will not have to be an employee for my entire life until retirement. But just it's just a dream, and there's no dream that is not worth it. So yes, this is in the future what I think I would love to do, being an expert in the investment in human capital solution as a consultant, and being able to reform the education system.
Oh, wow. No, Kalé, this entire interview has been, very, very amazing, or at least for me. And I think one of the few things that I really appreciate about that Masters in Development Finance at UCT was the type of people that were in that class, and the ability to learn from people like you. So thank you so much for giving me your time. And I think there's so many lessons to learn and to extract. Okay, Shaneil, that was a pretty interesting episode with Kalé, and a lot of learning points. How did you feel about this episode?
I think, yeah, really, really great episode. She sounds like such an interesting person, and it's always good to hear that people are focusing on the continent. I also couldn't believe how many master's degrees she has, and that was really, really.
Yeah, even I didn't know that. Yeah, I know. Like it's really motivating. There's always space to learn more. Informally or formally. Okay, so maybe Shaneil, if we can talk about the few key points that maybe resonated with you throughout this episode. Maybe I'll start. So the first thing that I liked was her international mobility, like the fact that she studied in France and then she worked in Kenya and is now working in Washington D.C. I think there is always value in leaving your the country you call home and immersing yourself in different and diverse cultures. And you can see by the fact that she's multilingual in one of the two main business languages in Africa, which allows her to she can speak to the majority of the African continent. I found that particularly very impressive. What did you learn?
No, definitely. So I think, and the concept of being a global citizen is very. It comes to light through the conversation with her, because it shows how important it is to go abroad and learn different fundamentals and different sort of concepts, and then bring that back home and see how we can contextualize it in an African continent or in an African context. Sorry. So I think it's really interesting. So I'm sure she's learning, especially, I guess, not to get too technical, but in my head, I was just saying from a financial modeling perspective, she's probably learning so many cool and interesting ways to look at distressed businesses and to bring that back home. And if I think about the EdCon situation, maybe that is something that needs those sort of skill sets, or situations where these sort of businesses might have existed or might have been saved from distress in the US, but they end up failing in South Africa, and that's just due to limited skills. So how do we ensure that if we're, as a country, or the businesses that are in our country, that they can exist and that they would thrive as much as anywhere else in the world? I think that was a really important thing for me, and just listening to her, one of the key takeaways there.
Okay. No. Like I love the ITCON example. That's actually a pretty like leveraged buyouts worked in the States, and it didn't work in this case in the South African context. So great example, Shaneil. What else did you learn?
So I think another cool thing that she was speaking about, and I guess this tied in more to how you were doing it, was around the informal mentorship. Having somebody that she bounces ideas off, going forward with that, and being clear about herself. So if I was extracting sort of an insight from that, I think it would be, once you start your career, you don't need to wait to sort of discover what you want to be. Maybe you don't know what job you want, but you should understand what drives you, what you actually stand for as a person, and where you see yourself 5 to 10 years. Because everything, if you don't figure that out, any sort of skills that you require, any sort of training that you get, whether formal or informal, it's quite futile because you're not building towards anything. So I think that was a really cool insight. What did you think about that?
No, I totally agree, Shaneil, particularly about mentorship. Like I liked that she validates that there are formal and informal mentors, but importantly, she talks about vision. And without a vision, it's not possible for mentorship to really help you. So like the work really still, the onus to really understand yourself is still on you, understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, and developing that what's your vision for in the next 10 to 15 years? And I found that particularly very insightful.
Yeah. And I think, going, I guess, pivoting from that into the networking discussion that seems very prominent, every time that we have these conversations. This is one of the few organizations where applying online has actually worked for someone. So that was another something I found interesting. I actually, like, while I was listening to that, I was like, wow, somebody applied on an online portal and got a job. That was
And got a job. She debunked that theory that we were starting to formulate based on our personal experiences. She applied in 2 weeks. She got a call.
But then again, how many people do you know have that many master's degrees that go through a job? So I think you're obviously going to stand out. If I would pick her for anything, and I mean, if you see somebody's got three to five master's degrees, you're gonna want them on your team. So that is
yeah, I know. I get that. And I really like when she mentioned LinkedIn, right? Because like I'm a big proponent of LinkedIn, and she was like, it's not cool to just see like many requests from people you don't even know. Like I really liked that perspective from the person on the other side, right? The person receiving the requests and in mails. Just like have a bit of a strategy. Maybe send a note with the invite, because LinkedIn allows you to do that. Just say, so that when a person accepts your invite, they know what you're about. They can make the decision there and there, like, do they want to accept your invite or not, based on your intentions, which I thought was particularly just a good piece of advice.
Yeah, I think that ties again into the strategy of networking. So when you're inviting someone, you shouldn't just be inviting people so you get that 500 plus symbol by your name. It should be intentional. Like you're trying to invite somebody because there's some sort of insight that you want to extract, or there's something that you want to contribute. I always feel that it should be a two-way street. So whether you're trying to, even if you're asking somebody for, possible job applications or whatever, I think when you make that connection, they should see that this person is making the effort, this person is putting in the work, whatever it is. Just make some sort of effort from your side to show that it's not a charity. It's not like you're asking for a favor. It's like, listen, I'm willing to work. I want to do this, this, and this. Can you help me out? So outline what's your strategy, how to approach it, what do you need, and what can you give?
Yeah. And maybe just to cite on other points that I found pretty cool from Kalé was when she was talking from her experience in the African banking and capital market sector. And she said what she would like to see improve is African banks taking more risks, being more innovative in their financing solutions. She states how, things like IFRS 9, those international standards sort of like guide what we term risk. And in a place like Africa, everything becomes risky if you're applying an international standard, so just being more innovative and taking more risks. I thought that was interesting to note.
Yeah, and I think that point's applicable across many varying aspects of Africa. I don't know if you saw recently Rwanda trying to build their own Silicon Valley in the capital city. I can't remember what it is, the name of the capital city now. But what I found interesting is that, once again, which is a great initiative because we're obviously trying to grow the continent from a tech perspective. So it's going to lead to more jobs and more opportunities. But I think that phrasing it as trying to be the next Silicon Valley bothered me a bit. I want original things coming out of Africa, and this ties into the point of why are we trying to create, or why do we accept these international standards? Why do we accept that the IFRS 9's view of risk is the same risk appetite that we should have on our continent? When the context is completely different, and I think you said it quite nicely. You said it's about contextualized problem solving. So I think we need a lot more of that still within banking and just in general across our thinking on the continent.
Yeah, and of course it's not going to be easy, because obviously when you talk capital markets, even in Africa, we're talking about foreign capital that's sitting in these African banks. So there is nuance and complexity, but like we need to do the work and find that contextualization that works. Not just relax on it.
Yeah, we definitely need some game-changing risk models and different perspectives from local thinkers, I guess. So that was a very interesting point, and I'm glad that there's somebody like her working in Washington, somebody who has these ideals and wants to sort of change that, is in a position where she is actually going to be heard. So I think it is quite, I guess it's a positive, but once again, it's difficult when it's one person in a huge organization. So then it becomes a thing of, how do you navigate these waters, and how do you ensure that you get maximum change from your impact?
Yeah. Well, maybe a good idea will be having more Africans applying to the IFC and the World Bank. I think that's my final point, Shaneil. Like, I'm like, why is the apply, especially for students in finance? Why are we just thinking of working for a bank, in Santon? Why aren't we thinking working for the World Bank or the African Development Bank or the Asian Bank or something? Why aren't we thinking bigger?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of that has to do with, because if I think about it, like a lot of the people I studied with, and even myself, you either get exposed to these brands growing up, or the conversations that you're having with your parents or with people in your family is always like around these banks or these big companies. And when I remember at UCT, when we had those careers day, I don't recall, maybe, I missed the day, but I don't recall the IFC or the World Bank there. So it's also the thing of you don't know. Like, that was my thing. I didn't know. I would have 100% started applying to these things had I known beforehand. But I guess I just didn't know. So how do you change that? Maybe that's another question, because you don't know what you don't know, right? So,
well, you can listen to our podcast.
Yeah, we can get bigger and hopefully reach a wider audience, and they can start applying, and we get the best of the best from the continent in these developmental institutions.
Yeah. Oh well, Shaneil, that's all from me. Is there anything else you like, reflections, introspections from this interview?
I think we've covered most of it, and I think the last point is just, guys, go out there and look for things where you can really make a big impact, because your careers don't need to be as narrow as banking or the biggest firms on the continent or the biggest brands. There's a lot of other stuff that's happening where we need the best and the brightest, and you will get paid quite a bit as well if you.
Oh yeah, in US dollars.
Yeah, these guys are dollar denominated, so it's not like one of those things where we're saying join an NPO and you sacrifice your salary to make a bigger impact per se. I don't know how we measure that impact, but that's usually how the general consensus is around working in a nonprofit, that you're making this big impact, but your salary might not be as big as a bank. So yeah, you're getting the best of both worlds. I actually think it's one of the best jobs I've ever heard of that she's doing. I'm definitely going to apply.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Young Professional African Edition. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on Apple Music, Spotify, or whatever platform that you use to listen to podcasts.
And if you enjoyed the show, give us a like and a follow. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at YP_Africa. That's YP_Africa. And if you've missed an episode, don't stress. You can catch up on our YouTube channel, YP_Africa. Like and subscribe, guys. Like and subscribe.
That's it from us, guys. See you next week.